All right, class, settle in. Let's talk about a moment in Shakespeare that is so powerful, so profound, it has echoed through our culture for over 400 years. We're going to step into a tense courtroom in Venice, where a man's life hangs by a thread, and hear one of the most beautiful speeches ever written about what it means to be human. The play is The Merchant of Venice, and the situation is grim. A merchant named Antonio has defaulted on a loan from a moneylender named Shylock. The contract they signed wasn't for interest or for property. It was for something far more terrifying, a pound of Antonio's own flesh. Shylock, who has been spat upon, mocked, and dehumanized by the Christian Society of Venice, is now standing in court, whetting his knife, demanding the letter of the law. He wants his revenge, and legally, he is entitled to it. The Duke, who is acting as the judge, is at a loss. The law is the law. The tension is unbearable. Just when all hope seems lost, a brilliant young lawyer, a visitor named Balthazar, steps forward to examine the case. Unbeknownst to everyone, this lawyer is actually our clever heroine, Portia, in disguise. She first confirms that Shylock's claim is legally sound. He has the right to his pound of flesh. But then, instead of arguing a fine point of law, she turns to Shylock and makes a different kind of appeal. She offers him a way out, a chance to choose a higher path. This is where we get the famous lines. She looks at him and says, "The quality of mercy is not strained." Let's pause on that first line. What does she mean by strained? Think of it as forced or compelled. Portia is saying that true mercy isn't something you can squeeze out of someone. You can't command it or demand it. It's not a legal obligation. It has to be given freely, as a choice, from the heart. She then continues with one of the most beautiful images in all of literature. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. Imagine that. Mercy is like rain. It falls gently, naturally, without being asked. It is a gift from above that nourishes the earth below. And just like rain, it doesn't discriminate. It falls on the rich and the poor, the powerful and the weak, the good and the not so good. It is a universal grace. Then comes the philosophical core of her argument. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. This is a stunning idea. An act of mercy isn't a one-way transaction. It's a win-win. The person who receives mercy is blessed because they are saved. But the person who gives mercy is also blessed because in doing so, they elevate their own soul. They become nobler, better, more humane. Portia builds her case by arguing that mercy is what separates raw earthly power from divine grace. A king has a crown and a scepter, and these things make people fear him. But mercy, she says, is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute of God himself. An earthly power doth show likest gods when mercy seasons justice. She is essentially telling Shylock, you have the law on your side, which gives you earthly power. But if you choose mercy, you will be showing a quality that is godlike. It is a breathtaking speech. It's an appeal to our better angels, a call for compassion to triumph over cold, hard justice. Of course, the terrible irony of the play is what happens next. Shylock, hardened by years of abuse, rejects her plea. He insists on the law. I crave the law, he says. And so Portia, seeing that her appeal to his heart has failed, turns the very weapon of the law against him. She grants him his pound of flesh, but with a devastating catch. He cannot shed a single drop of blood. the law he demanded becomes his prison. In the end, the court shows Shylock no mercy at all. They strip him of his wealth, his dignity, and even his faith. And that is the troubling genius of Shakespeare. He gives us this magnificent, soaring speech about the beauty of mercy, and then forces us to watch a scene where that very quality is nowhere to be found. It leaves us to ask the uncomfortable question: is it enough to talk about mercy, or does it only have meaning when we grant it to those we believe least deserve it? This is one of Shakespeare's most celebrated and moving passages. First, let's lay out the speech in its entirety, just as Portia delivers it in the Venetian courtroom. The complete speech. The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. 'Tis mightiest in the mightiest. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. His scepter shows the force of temporal power, the attribute to awe and majesty, wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above this sceptered sway. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute to God himself. An earthly power doth show likest gods when mercy seasons justice. Therefore you, though justice be thy plea, consider this, that in the course of justice none of us should see salvation. We do pray for mercy, and that same prayer doth teach us all to render the deeds of mercy. I have spoke thus much to mitigate the justice of your plea, which if you follow, this strict court of Venice must needs give sentence against the merchant there. A detailed, line-by-line explanation. Now, let's walk through this together, almost as if we're translating it from Shakespeare's beautiful English into our own language. The quality of mercy is not strained. This opening line is the foundation of the entire speech. The word strained here means forced, constrained, or compelled. Portia is saying that true mercy cannot be demanded or ordered by a court of law. It must be given freely and willingly from the heart. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. She uses a beautiful natural image here. Mercy is like a gentle rain that falls from the sky. Rain is a natural life-giving force that isn't directed to one specific person. It falls everywhere, nourishing everything below it without judgment. This simile paints mercy as a divine, natural grace, not a human invention. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. This is a profound philosophical point. Mercy is a double blessing. The person who receives it is obviously blessed. They are forgiven or spared. But Portia argues that the person who gives mercy is also blessed, perhaps even more so, because the act of showing compassion elevates their own character and spirit. It becomes nobler, better, more humane. 'Tis mightiest in the mightiest. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. Mercy is most powerful and most impressive when it is shown by the most powerful people. A king's crown is just a symbol of his power, but his capacity for mercy is what truly makes him noble and great. It's a better look on him, so to speak, than his actual crown. His scepter shows the force of temporal power, the attribute to awe and majesty, wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. A scepter is the rod a king holds, symbolizing his earthly or temporal power. This power inspires awe and respect, but it's fundamentally based on fear. People obey a king because they are afraid of the consequences if they don't obey. But mercy is above the sceptered sway. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute to God himself. Here she takes her argument to the highest possible level. Mercy isn't just a great human quality, it is a divine one. It is one of the very characteristics of God. An earthly power doth show likest gods when mercy seasons justice. This line brings it all together. Earthly power, like a king's or a court's, most resembles God's divine power when justice is seasoned with the mercy. Think of seasoning on food. It doesn't replace the dish, but it enhances it and makes it better. Justice alone can be harsh and cold. Mercy makes it humane and divine. Therefore you, though justice be thy plea, consider this, that in the course of justice none of us should see salvation. We do pray for mercy, and that same prayer doth teach us all to render the deeds of mercy. I have spoke thus much to mitigate the justice of your plea, which if you follow, this strict court of Venice must needs give sentence against the merchant.